For our project today, Malcolm and I will be discussing human trafficking in Nepal, and our research question is, to what extent does Global Press Journal cover the issue of trafficking in Nepal? During our research, we found that since 2002, there was reported 4,522 human trafficking incidents in Nepal. Of those incidents reported, only 1,313 offenders were punished. That's only 29% that were punished for the acts of crime against those in Nepal. Here are some stats on human trafficking in India. Nepali children are also trafficked to India for forced labor. India is also a destination for women and girls from Nepal, and Bangladesh traffic for the purpose of commercial sex exploitation. These girls, they could start off as young as 5 years old, and they start trafficking them for sex, begging, brothels, forced labor, whatever they need, they see fit for them, they traffic them. And India police have arrested the kingpin of a trafficking racket who sold hundreds of poor tribal girls for domestic slavery in the country's capital. Every year in Nepal, 10 to 15,000 women are trafficked to India, and 7,500 children are trafficked internally. That could be just within Nepal, just the children are trafficked throughout the cities and stuff. And for the women, they're trafficked to India in trade form for brothels, forced labor, for different various reasons. Here's a picture explaining the patterns of human trafficking in Nepal. At the bottom left, you see a description of social status and vulnerability. The deciding factor seems to be the social status. The lower you are, the more vulnerable you are to being trafficked. To the right of this picture, you see that the reasons for trafficking are labeled such as for brothels, sex industry, and forced labor. Amongst those three, all of them were on the bottom end of the social status. Those that were of a high social status were never trafficked or anything to begin with. So therefore, if you're poor, poverty, or just on the bottom end of the totem pole, then you're most likely going to be trafficked. If you have children, then they most likely will be trafficked as well. And they won't be just trafficked internally amongst Nepal. They can be trafficked to Gulf countries such as China and India, and this is more for the older women, to say the least, but for the younger children, they're more transferred throughout Nepal internally, and the older women are transferred across the countries. Now Malcolm will begin to discuss our findings in Global Press Journal and to what extent did they cover human trafficking in Nepal.
One of the articles we found was Survivors Continue to Fight Sex Trafficking, Raise Awareness in Nepal. In this article, it followed former sex trafficking victim Tamal. She states that the reason why sex trafficking still exists in Nepal are for these reasons: lack of prioritization by the government, poverty, involvement in high-level positions in trafficking, and a lack of education and opportunities. Tamang was and is still determined to confront the issue of trafficking in Nepal. She attends human trafficking programs and uses her pain as a strength and focuses how to save women in peril. Tamang took her former pimps to court and won her case, and she was the first successful case of human sex trafficking in Nepal. Those men that sold her got 10 years in prison. GPJ uses Tamang as a direct vessel of human sex trafficking. She's been through it and is using her experiences and the way she fought it and how she successfully won at the end. That was a good choice for GPJ to address this issue. Another article that we talked about was an open secret sex trafficking in Nepal. In this article, it said there was as many as 200,000 Nepali women taken for sex trade. The demand for Nepali women is very high, especially in India, according to GPJ. This article speaks again with former sex trafficking victim Tamang, who said many clients in the brothels did not use condoms. When the girls would get pregnant, the DD would take them to the clinic for abortions. 50% of sex workers in India are infected with HIV/AIDS. Even with all that, GPJ asked anti-trafficking campaigners about how it's being addressed, and they replied that the Human Trafficking Act is one of the most poorly enforced laws in Nepal. GPJ did a good job with the statistics to give the audience some type of quantitative information on trafficking in Nepal. Also, by addressing how the human trafficking Act is poorly enforced. I think that they are trying to drill that in the minds of the people in Nepal and also worldwide.
We didn't believe. We immediately did medical tests and found out she was only 13 years old. She too was saved. I am a woman and I am a feminist. The patriarchal society in this region and the violence against women in this region is so high, especially for the stigma against HIV/AIDS. Srijana again was in India, in Kamatipur, for many years, 8 years. And the Gharwali pushed her back after she was HIV positive. She arrived at Maiti, Nepal, but she could not live for a long time. She died of AIDS. I had to cremate her. I took her to Pashupatinath temple, and I wanted to do the last rites for her. The last rite cost only 850 rupees. But there, I was asked 8,000 rupees. And I argued with that man for a long time. Ultimately, he agreed to do the cremation for 2,000 rupees. I was really very sad. I said, even after death, the girls didn't get the rights. And we here talk in this world about human rights, women rights, child rights, and all the rights of the world. And there, she did not get the rights even after death. I thought I must do something for children who come back in this state. So I started 2 hospices. Now we have 78 children who are living very peacefully. I wanted them to die a dignified death and live very happily. Poonam is now in class 10. She is the jury member of World Children Prize in Stockholm, Sweden. She wants to be a child rights activist. And Lakpa is now studying in school. She wants to finish her school and do some job and support her family, especially her sisters, so that no violence will be seen with her sisters. I would like to request all of you to close your eyes and think, if your daughter was in that position, what would you do? This is a heinous crime. Let's join hands and make this world a trafficking-free world, a better place for children. Take your daughter as your pride. Men learn to respect women. And at the end, real men don't buy girls. Thank you.
पुनामा लगेर बेच्दिनु भएको म त्यतिखेर चाहिँ 9-10 वर्षको थिएँ पहिला सुरुमा गएको 1 हप्तापछि चाहिँ 4-5 जना एकैचोटी पठाएको
करेन्टहरू लगाइदिन्थ्यो एकदम टर्चर गर्थ्यो गर्नै पर्छ भनेर भन्थ्यो
एक दिनमा कमसेकम 25, 30, 35 सम्म पुर्याउन पर्ने बाच्चे छ त्यस्तो